The drama surrounding Caitlin Clark has taken yet another bizarre turn, and this time, the chaos isn't coming from the court, it's coming from behind a keyboard. In what can only be described as a masterclass in tone-deaf journalism, a reporter closely tied to the Indiana Fever has managed to turn a fanbase, arguably the most passionate and lucrative in WNBA history, into the villains of his story. His headline: Caitlin Clark supporters are the dark side of women's basketball. Yes, you read that right. Not rival players, not dirty fouls, not league mismanagement, fans. The people buying tickets, filling arenas, driving merchandise sales, and pouring millions into the league's ecosystem have been rebranded as the Sith Lords of the sport. It's the kind of take that makes you wonder if someone accidentally swapped his coffee with a shot of pure envy. Picture it, the same Caitlin Clark who elevated women's college basketball to unprecedented TV ratings, who brought in sponsorships, who became a household name before even stepping foot in the WNBA, is now having to deal with an official beat reporter essentially launching a smear campaign, not against her directly, but against those who dare to cheer for her. The move is as baffling as it is petty. And this isn't coming from some random blog with a grudge. This is from a man with intimate access to the Fever, at practices, pre-game huddles, post-game interviews. He's there, front row, notebook in hand, yet somehow, his main contribution to the discourse is declaring that clapping too loudly for Caitlin Clark is an act of toxic villainy. Imagine if Scott Agnes or any respected journalist pulled this on Aya Wilson or Angel Reese. There'd be outrage in the streets and demands for retractions. But when the target is Clark and her fanbase, somehow it becomes acceptable to paint them as the league's boogeymen. It's almost comical in its hypocrisy. This reporter has never once used his platform to condemn the cheap shots Clark has taken this season. Elbows to the face, blatant shoves, body checks that would make a hockey player wince. Not a word. Not when she's fouled without a whistle. Not when she's targeted off the ball. Silence. But suddenly, when her fans push back against the treatment she's receiving, when they point out the obvious inconsistencies in officiating, now that's worth a 1,200-word digital sermon. The irony is that these so-called dark side fans are the very reason the WNBA is even experiencing its current surge in relevance. 5 years ago, the league was struggling to sell out concession stands. Now, thanks largely to Clark's arrival, ticket sales are booming, merch is flying off the shelves, and games are making national headlines. And yet, instead of embracing this momentum, certain corners of the media seem intent on alienating the very base that's fueling it. It's like watching someone win the lottery and then tear up the ticket because they didn't like the color of the ink. Meanwhile, the league itself hasn't exactly been making things easier. The officiating has been a running joke. Technical fouls for blinking, travels for breathing, flagrants for daring to drive to the basket. Clark can split defenders with surgical precision and still find herself penalized for imaginary infractions, while opponents get away with elbows sharp enough to slice through steel. It's reached the point where referees feel less like neutral arbiters and more like overzealous hall monitors at a high school talent show. And then there's the bizarre exclusion from showcase events. She's too much of a distraction for the Olympics, apparently not worth featuring in the skills competition either. The NCAA treated her like the generational talent she is. The WNBA seems to be treating her like the freshman who needs to wait her turn. It's a baffling business decision. When you've got the most marketable rookie in league history, you'd think step one would be to put her in as many marquee moments as possible. Instead, they've built a maze of missed opportunities and unnecessary roadblocks. The reporter at the center of this storm seems to think that calling out Clark's fans is some sort of courageous act. In reality, it's the journalistic equivalent of picking a fight with the people holding up the roof. These are not casual spectators. They're invested, financially and emotionally, in the success of the league. They've traveled, bought tickets, tuned in, and shouted from the rafters. To brand them as toxic for defending their favorite player is not only insulting, it's self-sabotage. What makes it even more absurd is that, without Clark, most of these reporters wouldn't even be relevant right now. She's the reason their articles get clicks, the reason their tweets get traction, the reason women's basketball is on more televisions across the country than ever before. Take her out of the equation, and they'd be covering pickleball tournaments or writing Yelp reviews for late-night diners. Caitlin Clark herself, for all the noise swirling around her, has remained remarkably composed. She's taken every hit, literal and figurative, with a level of grace and restraint that should be celebrated, not questioned. Yet even her quiet professionalism gets twisted into criticism. Why doesn't she fight back more? Why is she so calm? Maybe because she understands the microscope she's under, the double standard at play, and the fact that one wrong move would be amplified 100 times over. The truth is simple. Clark has brought millions of dollars and millions of eyes to the WNBA. She's inspired a new generation of fans, young girls who now see professional women's basketball as a dream worth chasing. And yet, the league and some of its media seem determined to turn that dream into a cautionary tale. Instead of protecting and celebrating their brightest star, they're allowing petty narratives and thinly veiled resentment to cloud the bigger picture. If supporting Caitlin Clark is the dark side, then maybe it's time we all embrace it. Because this dark side is buying the tickets, selling out the arenas, driving TV ratings, and giving the league the very relevance it's been chasing for decades. And if that's villainy, then hand us the lightsabers. We'll gladly take the role. In the end, no matter how many think pieces are written, no matter how many questionable calls are made, no matter how many times she's shoved to the ground, Caitlin Clark keeps showing up, keeps scoring, keeps elevating the game. And her fans will keep showing up too, because when you recognize greatness, you don't need permission to cheer for it. The league can either learn to appreciate that, or watch the dark side take its passion, its wallets, and its energy elsewhere. And as for the reporter, he can keep typing away in the corner, convinced he's winning some moral battle, while the rest of us watch Caitlin Clark rewrite the story of the WNBA, one clutch three-pointer at a time.